The whole dance of ethical non-monogamy begins with what some have called compersion. Now, compersion is a fascinating thing. It's not the usual kind of pleasure, the kind you grasp and clutch for yourself. No, it's a second-order delight, the kind that arises not from possessing or controlling, but from delighting in another's joy, as if their happiness were waves rippling through your own being. In this fluid, organic way of loving, the primary rhythm is the well-being of the other, tuning in to their joy, their pleasure, their fulfillment. But, and here's the key, it is never about self-denial or self-sacrifice. The paradox of love is that in giving, one is not diminished, but enriched. In this grand interplay of connection, one does not lose oneself, but expands, flowing effortlessly between giving and receiving, just as a river does not resist the sea, but merges with it in an ever-moving harmony. Inconsiderate, first-hand pleasure can never be the primary motivator or catalyst to the deeper realm of intimacy in one's companionship. There must be balance. The deeper joys of companionship are never found in the selfish grasping of pleasure for oneself alone. There is a delicate dance, a balance, a rhythm to intimacy, one that flows not from the narrow confines of personal desire, but from a wider sense of participation in the joyous unfolding of another's experience. Now, there is a curious little word that has entered the English language: compersion. It is a fresh coat of paint on an ancient idea, one that echoes the Sanskrit mudita, a concept woven into the heart of Buddhist practice. Mudita is the pure, unclouded delight in another's happiness. An unpossessive, expansive joy that does not seek to cling, to own, or to demand, but simply to revel in the well-being of another as though their happiness were as much one's own as the air we all breathe. But here's where things get truly fascinating. The idea that one's beloved might find pleasure, sexual pleasure no less, in the arms of another is for many an image too terrifying to bear. The mind seizes up, possessed by a spectral torment, a looping reel of imagined betrayal, as if desire were a battlefield where one must conquer or be conquered. Tom Cruise's character in Eyes Wide Shut is precisely such a man, lost in the labyrinth of his own mind, haunted not by what is, but by what might be. And in this, Seneca was right. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. But why suffer at all? The mind is a marvelous trickster, capable of turning its deepest horrors into its most delicious indulgences. With a touch of maturity, a whisper of ego transcendence, and a willingness to explore the unmapped territories of desire, what was once a source of agony can become a fountain of the purest delight. It is in this very surrender, this relinquishing of control of possessiveness, that one discovers a pleasure far deeper than the mere fulfillment of personal appetites. Imagine then the shift in perspective when faced with the knowledge that their partner has danced with another. The ordinary lover recoils. How dare you? How could you? But the one who understands compersion, the one who has learned to flow with the current, rather than against it, asks instead, "Did you enjoy it?" And upon hearing an affirmative, they smile. For what greater joy could there be than to know that the one they love has known pleasure, has been swept up in the intoxication of experience, without the weight of guilt, fear, or loss. Desire, enjoyment, honesty, and loyalty. These are not foes, but separate strands in the grand tapestry of love. The compersive lover delights in the unbridled play of flirtation, the electric charge of novelty, the sheer adventure of variety. Not as a threat, but as an affirmation of life's richness. They do not withhold, nor do they hoard. Instead, they rejoice in the freedom of their beloved, knowing that love is not a chain, but an open sky. Of course, such a way of being is not for all. It is a high art, a cultivated taste, a path that demands the scaffolding of trust, the mastery of ego, and the refinement of the self beyond the crude, possessive impulses of the unexamined mind. If one is not ready, that is no crime. But they must know this. Ethical non-monogamy is not simply about indulgence, it is about transcendence. To embark upon it without the requisite inner work is to build a temple on shifting sand. But for those who are willing, for those who can meet this challenge not with fear but with curiosity and openness, Compersion offers a joy of an entirely new order, a pleasure so profound and liberating that it seems almost forbidden. And perhaps in some way that is what makes it so exquisitely beautiful.